and welcome everybody to our June Learning Series webinar. Today's topic is brought to you by popular demand. We've been running these webinar series now with monthly webinars for over 3 years, or going 3 years, somewhere in that ballpark. We've got dozens and dozens of prior editions available for view on our video library. And somebody had asked the question, could we do a Microsoft Word session? And I thought for sure that we had run one in the past. Come to find out, we never had. We've done like a dozen Excel presentations, but never one on Word. So here you go. Microsoft Word Beyond the Basics. And we're glad you're joining us today for today's session.
Thank you so much, Dave, and welcome everyone to the session. As Dave was saying, we're going to be talking today about Microsoft Word, and we're going to kind of take it beyond the basics. So I'm going to assume that everybody has been in Microsoft Word and you understand the user interface a little bit, but I'm actually going to be starting with talking about something on the user interface that I find is one of the things that I have turned on every single time I'm in Microsoft Word. Now, what exactly is this feature that we can turn on or turn off? It's actually called the Navigation Pane. So let me show you first, how do you turn it on if it's not already turned on? So it's going to open on the left-hand side of the window, but if you go to the View tab, which of course is where you will find your features that are related to changing the way you're looking at a document, from here you can go to the Show group and check the box in front of Navigation Pane. This, to me, like I said, is something I use every time I'm in Word. Now, how does it work and what's the benefit? Why do I use it all the time? Well, right now there's not a lot going on, but let me show you what is automatically available. So on the left-hand side, you can see my cursor is actually blinking in the search box. So that's where we can actually search for content within your document. So like if I'm looking for the word summary, I can just simply type in summary and it does an instant search on finding that word throughout my document. You can see that it's telling me there's one result. I can use these arrows to navigate those results. Now let me do a different word that's going to show up a little bit more, like the word the. There's 24 results. I can use the arrows, like I said, to navigate the results, but there's these 3 tabs: headings, pages, and results. If I click results, it actually displays where that word is located in the document, shows you the actual sentence it's within. You can use that to actually click to navigate to that actual sentence within the document. So it's called the navigation because we use it to navigate. Now, what are some other benefits of using it? Well, I'm going to click the X on that search box to stop that search for right now. And another way you can use the navigation pane to navigate is similar to your Adobe Acrobat or your Adobe Reader program, where one of the tabs here under the search box is called Pages. If you click Pages, it gives you the thumbnail images of all of the pages within your document. If you want to navigate to page 3, click on the thumbnail. It automatically will navigate to that page. So a quick, easy way to get around a document, especially if you have a document that is a little bit longer, makes it super easy to navigate. But I'm going to go ahead and click on the icon at the top there for headings. Now, I don't have any headings in my document right now, but I'm going to create some. So kind of working with my second topic today, word styles, is going to work with the navigation pane and a table of contents that I'll demonstrate here shortly. So in this document, I'm going to actually go to the top of the document, and I'm just going to actually use a keyboard shortcut. Dave and I have been around for a very, very long time. I actually started in IT before the mouse came out, so I know a lot of keyboard shortcuts, but one I use regularly is actually Control Home. So on your keyboard, do Control Home, and it automatically will jump you to the top of the document. Control End is the opposite. It will jump you to the end. But I wanted to get back up to the top for a moment because typically what I do in a document is I type everything in. I come in and I type in all my data, then I go back and make changes to the formatting and do different things. Insert images, tables, whatever else I might need for content. Well, I have a document here that is related to business operations. And what I want to do with this is create an organized document. I want to have consistent headings that throughout the document, I can have it so that it's more like an outline level where I can have headings 1, headings 2, headings 3, and automatically be formatted the same. I don't want to have to manually format things and, have to figure out how to do that. I want to do it automatically. So I'm going to be within the first paragraph of this document where it says business operations. And on the home tab of the ribbon, what I'm going to do is use this styles group. It has a gallery of built-in styles that are related to your current theme. Now I'm going to get to themes here in a moment, but you can see that it has normal. Normal is the style that it uses by default. So every time that you start a brand new document and you just start typing, it's using the normal style, which dictates what is the default font size, and other attributes. So it automatically will do that. But I'm going to actually say that I want this business operations to actually be a heading 1 because it's going to be a main heading throughout my document. So I'm going to click on this style called heading 1. It automatically will format that paragraph. And you can see that in the font group, it's bold, it's the Aptos Display Headings font, and it's size 14. It's also using a blue color. It's hard to tell, but if I go to the drop down arrow for the font colors, you can see that it's actually using this column, this particular blue color, because that's the square that is highlighted. So it's automatically applying that style for me. I don't have to do any formatting manually. Now I'm going to go throughout my document and start adding in additional headings throughout the document. This paragraph for executive summary. And by the way, you don't have to select the paragraph to apply formatting to the entire paragraph. Just make sure your mouse is in that paragraph. And then I'm going to have that be a heading 1 also. So I click the style heading 1. It has the same exact formatting. I'm going to scroll down, and for this business objectives, I'm going to say that's actually a subheading of the executive summary. I want that to be a heading 2 style. So I'm going to click on the icon for heading 2. Now I'm going to continue scrolling down and adding a few more headings. I'm going to say this operations overview is a heading 2. I'm going to say sales performance is a heading 3. So I'm going to go to the drop down arrow for this gallery of choices and choose heading 3. Now, what exactly is this doing in the navigation pane? Well, as I was applying these styles throughout my document, it's automatically adding those paragraphs as a style where we can use those to navigate throughout the document. So you could see business operations, executive summary, but then indented under executive summary is the business objectives and then operations overview, and then indented under that is the heading 3, which was sales performance. Now I'm going to do just a few more. I'm going to do marketing initiatives, and I'm going to say that's actually going to be a heading 2. Financial performance, I'm going to say is a heading 1. Human resources is a heading 1. Customer experience is a heading 2. Just so you can see, I'm just applying, clicking in the paragraph, and then I'm applying the appropriate heading for those. Now, what else am I going to be able to do with this? Well, as I build my document, what if I change my mind? I want to reorganize the content of this document. I actually need the technical improvements area of data, that section of data, to go before the financial performance. Do I have to go select that text, cut it, and then go to where I want to put it and paste it? Absolutely not. Use the navigation pane. If you go to the left-hand side to the navigation pane, you can click and drag and move the contents around. So if I click technology improvements and drag it up above, notice how when I'm holding my mouse down, I get that bar going across. Put it in front of on top of the financial performance, release my mouse. It just rearranged all the text and objects that were a part of that section. That heading automatically got moved, including the heading 2 content, because it's a part of the heading 1 content. I love the navigation pane. But I also love the fact that we can actually have, so let me make that a little bit bigger. I saw somebody make a comment. So I don't know if that's the bigger part that you wanted to see, but I can't maximize my window because this monitor that I'm using today is not working very well. But anyway, just so you could see that here real quick. So one of the things that just, if you've never used the navigation pane, turn it on. 100%, no questions about it. Use it for searching. You can use it for your find and replace. You can use it for navigating throughout the document. So how I use it for navigating is, what if I want to go back to that category for that executive summary? I can go to the navigation pane, click executive summary, and it's automatically going to navigate me within the document to that category, to that heading. So we can use the navigation pane to navigate and to rearrange content. So we don't want to manually apply the formatting. It's best to do it with styles so that we have that consistency going on throughout the document. So love that capability. Now I'm going to jump back up to the top of the document, and I had mentioned that right now it's using Aptos as the default font, and the heading 1s, etc., are all being formatted based on the different styles. But what if you go to the Design tab? And in the Design tab on the left-hand side of the ribbon, you'll find Themes. By default, every time you create a new document, it's going to use the Office theme. Themes consist of default fonts, colors, and attributes on objects. So you can see that if I hesitate on any of these icons for the themes, it's actually changing my document. It's changing the default font and the default colors. I'm just going to choose this one called Wisp as an example. What that just did is, if I go back to the Home tab of the ribbon, when I am using the heading 1 style, it's using Century Gothic, bold, size 14, and the font color that it's using is the same square, but the colors are different. So it's technically using the same column, the same square, but all the color palette is different to match that theme. So you can totally change a document just by changing the theme. Now, your organization might actually have a theme that is created just for your company. Just for your company. Well, the great part about that is you could actually use your company theme. By going to the Design tab, if you have access to your company theme, when you click on the drop down for themes, down at the bottom, you could actually get to the current theme, or the theme you want to use, I should say, by clicking on Browse for Themes. Then you can navigate your computer to find the theme that you want to apply. So like if I go to this Adamas, here's a theme that I have saved that if I click Open, it will automatically apply that theme. So now when I go back to the Home tab, I have a different font that it's using, and it's using different colors by default. So it's a great way to be able to quickly and easily change your document. Now I'm actually going to put it back to the default, the Office theme. So I'm back to the Design tab, back to Themes. I'm going to click on the first icon, which is the default for Microsoft Office, because there's a few other things that I want to make sure everybody understands. The next thing that I want to actually do is I want to add some other content to this document. This is going to be a document that is going to end up being, multiple pages. It's going to probably be 10 pages long by the time I get done, and I'm going to be sharing it with a bunch of team members. And we're going to be, after our team gets it shared, we're going to go through it, we're going to approve it, then we're going to share it to the entire organization. So we want it to be organized very professionally, have it be something very nicely, professionally written. So I'm going to actually be at the very top of my document. And what I actually want to do is add in a table of contents. Table of contents can automatically be built based on those styles that I had applied. So I applied the heading 1, the heading 2, the heading 3. They can automatically appear within the table of contents. I don't have to manually create a table of contents. It will be able to be updated as we add more content and as we change styles. So if I remove a heading style or I add new ones, I can update the table of contents to match all the current ones that we're using. But a table of contents usually goes at the beginning of your document, so I'm going to go ahead and start at the beginning. So how we're going to insert this is by going to the References tab of the ribbon. From there, on the left-hand side, I'm going to click the icon Table of Contents. There's built-in options that you can use, but just so you know, a more advanced class, we could go through how to modify so that things can look a little bit different. But I'm going to choose Automatic Table 2. I want that formatting of Automatic Table 2. When I click on it, it has automatically created a table of contents for me based on the formatting from that automatic table 2. It placed it where my cursor was. And when you look at it, you can see that it has each of the headings with what is called a leader tab, the dots going tabbed all the way over to the page number. And the page numbers all align to the right-hand side. So you could see that it indents for the heading 2s, but then has that leader tab, indents for the heading 3s, and then it has that tab over to the right with that leader tab. So it's doing this automatically. So what we want to have happen though is after that table of contents, we don't want our text to actually start right there. Right now my cursor is in front of business operations. I really want that to start on a different page. Now, am I going to be having this be saved as a PDF because somebody might print it? And by the way, if you save a file as a PDF, the table of contents are hyperlinks. So just so you know, and I'll show you how to do that here in a moment. But I want this business operations to actually start on an odd page number. What I'm going to do is insert an odd page break. We can manually insert, I should say, yes, manually. We can manually insert page breaks, which I'll show you in just a moment, but we can also do section breaks. Section breaks are going to allow us to have different headers and footers than other sections. So think of it like a book. If you want to have odd or even page numbers and have the header and footer be odd and even page, look at a book at the bottom, they can have left align for the odd pages or right align for the even number pages, all kinds of things. So I want this business operations to start on an odd page number. I'm going to go to the layout tab of the ribbon, and from the layout tab in the page setup group, I'm going to click the down arrow basically for breaks. We could do a regular page break, column breaks, text wrapping, etc. But under the section breaks, I'm actually going to click on odd page. That is going to leave a back page to the table of contents. So it's going to be the table of contents is page 1, the back side of it is page 2, then page 3 is where the text is going to start for that business operations. Just so you're kind of following how all that works. And we will probably want to have a cover page to this entire document. Now, before I do a cover page though, let me add in a few other page breaks. I want certain content to start on their own page. I'm going to go to Executive Summary. I want that to start on an odd page number, similar to starting a new chapter in a book. If I am at Executive Summary, my cursor is blinking in front of that paragraph, I can go back to the Layout tab to the breaks, and I can click Odd Page again. It's going to automatically force that to start on an odd page number. If you're looking at the bottom left of my screen on the status bar, it says page 5 of 7. So you know it's starting on an odd page number. Now I'm going to also go down to technology improvements, and I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to say I want that to start on an odd page number. Back to the Layout tab, clicking on breaks, I'm going to click odd page. Automatically starts that on page 7. So you can see that it's very easy to be able to say, I want this to be an even page, I want this to be an odd page, etc. Now, of course, if content is added to the other pages above, it's just going to automatically keep moving things down, and this will stay an odd page no matter if it ends up being page 9, it will stay starting as an odd page. We'll get to a little bit more of that here in a moment. But right now, and I'm going to get to removing a page break in just a minute, but first I want to actually add in a cover page. I want to have a cover page to this entire document. Right now I'm on page 7. I want the cover page to be at the beginning of the document, but I don't have to navigate to the document. I can do it right from here on page 7 by simply going to the Insert tab of the ribbon. On the left-hand side of the ribbon is Cover Page. Built into Microsoft Word are some pre-designed cover pages that will automatically go to page 1. A couple of other things will happen that I'll show you once I add one. Now, even if you don't like exactly what's there, like an image or the colors, you can always change the elements that get added to the cover page. But I'm going to choose a kind of more simple one. I'm going to actually choose this ion light. When I clicked on that, it automatically put it as page 1, and it has a placeholder at the top right for the year. I can click in that placeholder, and by the way, more advanced feature, but Microsoft Word is a very powerful program. We can actually put in content that we want it to repeat all the time. We can insert things like, who was the author of this document? What is the title of this document? Those types of placeholders can automatically be added in your document anywhere that you need them. Some of those automatically get added to a cover page. So up at the top where it says year, I can click on the drop down, choose the date that I want it to use, and then it's going to automatically input the year for the date I chose. Just so you know, it's going to do that. Also, where it says document title, I'm going to click in that box, and I can physically type in what I want for the title of this. And I'm going to I'm going to type in business operations, and it's automatically putting in the formatting based on the cover page that I created, that I inserted. It also has a document subtitle where I'm going to put in ABC Company. And then you can see that it did automatically add in an author, but I'm going to actually modify the author. If I want to modify the business operations, the subtitle, I want to modify who the author is because it's assuming I'm using Python docx as the author. I'm going to say I want the author to be my name. You can manage the properties of your document, and it will update these placeholders automatically by simply going to the File menu at the top left, and then go to the Info category. On the right-hand side, click Properties, then click Advanced Properties. It will open a dialog box, this dialog box that is going to show you the content that I manually typed in. I'm going to add in Business Operations 2026. I'm going to change the author to be my name. If I wanted to, oops, I have to spell my name correctly. If I wanted any other content, I could add that in. But I'm just going to make those couple of changes and then click OK. When I go back to the document on that cover page, it is now updated that information. So they feed off each other. I can either do it on the cover page or do it in the properties and then use those properties throughout the document or automatically in these placeholders on the cover page. Just so you know, you could do that. Now, if I want to have that be not cutting off that 2026, I can expand that text box object by using the text box features so that it's not moving it down doing word wrapping. Just so you could see, I could change formatting because maybe I want that subtitle to be bold and I want it to be a larger font size. So whatever it is that you want to do, things can be modified. We don't have to keep it exactly the way that it came out of the cover page. But what is it actually doing? Well, let me actually go to the Home tab of the ribbon and in the paragraph group. I don't know if anybody was a WordPerfect user, but I loved WordPerfect back in its time. And it had a feature called Reveal Codes. Loved the Reveal Codes. But here in Microsoft Word, if you want to see where your page breaks are and other non-printing characters in your document, in the paragraph group at the top right, click on this little paragraph looking, it's back from shorthand. It's the old paragraph icon. If you click that show hide icon, it's going to show you where every page break is in the document, including any section breaks. Like here, after that table of contents, as I scroll down, you can see that it says section break odd page. As I keep scrolling down, here's another section break odd page, and you can see that it's leaving the spaces after that section break for more content. So as I scroll down, you'll be able to see where a hard return was done every time a space was pressed. All those non-printing characters are revealed, like the old WordPerfect reveal codes. But if you don't want to see them, you could just turn it back off. But before I do that, let me add in a manual page break. I'm going to click in front of future planning and I'm going to do Control Enter. I'm going to press Control Enter. That puts in a manual page break. So it just moved the content of that future planning to start on the next page. Whether it's an odd or an even page, it doesn't matter. I wasn't forcing it to say it needs to be an odd page. Now, if I scroll up, here's that page break. Now, what if I had changed my mind and I decided, oops, I don't really want that page break. By having the show hide turned on, it's super easy to remove that page break because all you have to do is select it. So if I click my cursor in front of the placeholder of that page break, I can press my delete key and it automatically deletes that page break. So having the show hide on can be very helpful to know where are those page breaks. Plus, it left a paragraph like a hard return. I'm going to press delete to delete that as well because I want future planning to be moved up. Now I'm going to turn off that show hide. I'm going to go back to the paragraph group from the Home tab, click that icon for show hide. We're not seeing those non-printing characters anymore, but you can turn them on and turn them off whenever you want to see them. It's very helpful to know what's going on because the last thing we want to have happen is if I want future planning to go to the next page, I'm not going to do a bunch of hard returns to move it to the next page. That's going to mess up the other documents or the other data within the document. We want to do the forcing of it to do insert page break or Control Enter is the keyboard shortcut. Now, let me kind of keep going here for a moment because when we're building this document and putting things together, it's great that we have that cover page, we have the table of contents, and we have our data with those section breaks and other things going on. But if we're going to end up being 9 pages, don't we need some page numbers? Probably. So what we want to do is add in headers to appear at the top of every page, footers to appear at the bottom of every page, but we do not want them on the cover page or the table of contents. We really want the headings and the footers to really start with our data, which was the business operations. So if I go back to this business operations, and I'm just kind of scrolled up a little bit so I can see the top of that piece of paper, because you can actually see the actual physical piece of paper, the 8.5 by 11 by default paper. And right at the top of this page, if I put my mouse there, I can double click. So right now you can see my cursor is here at the top. I could double click my mouse and it's going to take me into the header. If I double click anywhere within the document, it closes it. How else can you get in there? Well, you could go to the Insert tab. So without double clicking, you could go to the Insert tab, and on the right-hand side, there is a header and footer group. If I want to add a header or a footer, you can click on the icon for header. It's going to show you built-in options that you could add in, where it's going to give you placeholders to put content. Some of these are going to have formatting automatically available. And I'm actually going to choose this. Let me see, which one might I want? Well, actually, I don't like any of those for what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to click off that. And instead, I want to type in what I want for my heading. So I'm going to do that double click again at the top of this document, or at the top of that page, I should say. Notice when I'm back in here, on right underneath, so it's giving us a dashed line showing this is the header area, and then the document is at underneath, and I can't edit the document right now. I can only work in the header and footer right now. On your ribbon, you're going to find a header and footer tab has now been opened, but my cursor is blinking in the header, and it says header section 2, which means there's two. Right now, I'm in the second header, or the second section of the document. In header 1, section 1 of this document is the cover page and the table of contents. They're in the first section. I'm in the second section, and on the right-hand side, it says same as previous. I do not want same as previous, which means that if I put in a header, it's also going to add it to the previous section 1. I don't want the cover page and the table of contents to have the same header section, or the same header. So what I want to do is go to the ribbon on the header and footer tab. I'm going to click link to previous to turn it off, because I don't want it to link to the previous section. Now that has disappeared on the right-hand side, it doesn't say same as previous. Now I'm going to type in the header I want, and I want it to be Business Operations 2026. Now I can select that text, I can format it, maybe I want it to be, I'm going to go back to the Home tab, I want it to be centered across the top. Whatever you want to do with it, you can make a change to it, and every page starting here and going down can have that same header. So I'm going to go to the footer first, and then I'll show you how it's going to go to all the pages. On the header and footer tab, on the left-hand side, I could go to footer, and it has built-in footer options that I could choose from. It's got pre-formatted options, or you can just manually type in like I did with the header. But I'm actually going to choose one of these. I'm going to choose the one that says page 1 of 1. I'm going to click on that one. It's going to automatically jump me down to that footer of that page. And when you look at it, it says footer section 2, so you know what section you're in. But then it says same as previous. It's assuming I want page numbers on the previous section, but I don't. I'm going to go back to the header and footer tab and click again on that link to previous, because I don't want it to be on the cover page and the table of contents. But it says page 3 of 1. I want it to start as page 1. So I'm going to select that number 3. I'm just clicking and dragging to select that number 3. And what I want to do is go back to the header and footer tab of the ribbon, click where it says page number. I'm going to click format page number, and I'm going to say towards the bottom here, it says page numbering, continue from previous section. I don't want that. I want to click start at 1. I'm telling it I want it to start at page 1. Otherwise, because there's other physical pages, it assumes we want to start on the next physical page, but I don't. So I'm going to say start at 1, click OK. Now it says 1 of 7. So the first the first pages, the cover page, the table of contents, those are not page numbered. It starts now saying this of page 1 of 7 or page 4 of 20, however many total pages you have and based on the one you're on. Now, if I scroll down, I can see that it says header section 3 on the next page because I had inserted a odd section break. That's the 3rd section of the document, but it says same as previous. And we want to keep that because we wanted to say business operations 2026 for all of the rest of the pages. And we want the footer to continue. We want the footer to continue. Now, why does it say page 3 of 7? I did an odd page section break. So when I look at the section 2 has this business operations, but then if we were going to print this double-sided, it has the cover, the first page, nothing on the back because there's not enough content. It automatically is forcing the executive summary to start on an odd page number. That's why it's actually page 3. Page 1 is the first header. Then I wanted this to automatically start on an odd page number, kind of thinking about the book. Now, it could have just been a regular page break to say just start at the next page. Doesn't matter if it's odd or even, all depending on how you want it set up. But I wanted you to kind of see how this works. So as I keep scrolling down, you can see page 4 of 7, you could see page 5 of 7, etc. Now, I'm not in the header and footer anymore. I'm actively in the document. The header and footer tab on the ribbon is closed. But as you scroll up and down, you can see that header and footer. Now, if I wanted to change it, I could just go to the bottom of the page or the top of any of the pages and double click, and it would automatically take you back in to the header and footer. Then I can just click within my document to go back into the document. So we can toggle back and forth that way, just so you're aware of that. But let's talk about a few other features to kind of keep this kind of document being created. So I'm going to go back up to the very top where we have our cover page, and I'm just going to zoom down so you could see the whole page at once. So you could see that the first page is this cover page. Then we have this table of contents, which if you look at this, it has the page numbers. I don't want page numbers there. So I'm going to double click where it is showing the page numbers for that table of contents. And you can see that it says footer section 1. I don't want the page number, so I'm going to select it, click delete, and it's going to automatically delete it from that section. But it doesn't affect the other sections in the document. Where the data actually starts still has the appropriate section break with the page numbers. So these are some tools that are really, you could take advantage of starting today if you've never done this. You can always go back and take things back out if you're not going to use them or change them to be something else. But I got to tell you, these are things that I really do use regularly. But while I'm here in this header footer area, notice on the cover page, it actually says first page header section 1. But then for the table of contents page, it just says header section 1. On the header and footer tab, we have the ability of having the first page of a section to be different than the rest of the section. Think of a book, if you had a chapter 1, you want that to be different than the rest of the pages in that section. That's how we could be using this feature that allows us, and it's in this options group right here, where it says different first page. So that can have, it's part of the same section 1, but it can be different than the other pages in that section. I tell you, Microsoft Word is a very powerful program. We're barely, of course, touching the, on all the features that it has. We're barely talking about them, but you're starting to see it has some really easy to use other elements available within this document. Now, having a document be saved to a cloud, having it be saved to your OneDrive, a SharePoint document library, you have some things that are happening by default. If I go back into the content, and I'm going to zoom again to 100%, if I go back into the content of your document, it's automatically saving the changes as we go. But what isn't happening is when you're done with your document, you need to have a habit of going back to the table of contents and making sure all the page numbers match appropriately. Because if I came back and I said, this operations overview really needs to be a heading 3, I change it to a heading 3, or I add more content and now the page numbers don't match up. We need to go back to the table of contents so that we can update it to match the current page numbers. So I just scrolled up to go back to the table of contents. I'm going to click at the top where it says table of contents that it automatically added. It selects the entire table of contents, which, by the way, is a built-in field beyond our scope of our class today, but all you have to do is click Update Table. I always choose Update Entire Table so that it's going to update any changes to headings and things like that. Click OK, and it updates the table of contents to match all of the headers, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and what their current page numbers are. So that needs to be a habit before you go live with the document. So let's say that I've created this document, I have my cover page, I have my table of contents, I updated the table of contents to match the rest of the document. But now I want to save it as a PDF file. If you do your normal file, save as, I'm going to say save a copy. On the right-hand side, I'm going to keep it in the cloud location that it's currently in, but I'm going to go to where it says Word document, and I'm going to choose PDF. But I'm not just going to click save. I'm actually going to click this link here called More Options. Once you come into the More Options, it takes you to the Save As dialog box, and at the bottom I'm going to click this button called Options. This part of the window, by the way, is only available when you're saving it as a PDF because these are PDF features. If you click Options, it opens up this dialog box and it wants to know, well, which pages do you want to be saved as a PDF? You don't have to have all of them. And where it says include, or I should say create bookmarks using, I'm going to check that because in the PDF, I want it to automatically create bookmarks so that as people are looking at the PDF, they can navigate by the bookmarks, which are going to be based on the headings. So all the heading 1s, heading 2, headings 3s, when you open up the pane for bookmarks, you can use those to navigate the document. You don't have to manually create the bookmarks. It can do it if you choose this. So you got to remember to go into options. Then click OK, click Save, and it will automatically create based on your styles, heading 1, heading 2, automatically creates those bookmarks. Now, how do we know that it did that? I should have said to open it after I did that, but let me go back in here. Sorry, give me just 1 second. I'm going to open that just so you can see that here real quick. Do, 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 do. Oop, where'd it go? Sorry, I'm not finding it super quick, so I'll skip that for right now. But just so you know, when you open it in your Reader or your Adobe Acrobat, you can turn on your bookmarks and all of those headings will be there. Love that capability. So a couple of other things that I do want to mention before we are running out of time already is you have a lot of great efficiency tools built in. You know, we have these automatic table of contents. We can insert these cover pages, make changes. We don't always have to keep them. We have these wonderful styles. We can be taking advantage of this navigation pane where we can use it to navigate throughout the document, rearrange the document when we're using those styles. But when it comes to collaborating, if you have a file that is saved to a cloud, if it's in a document library, of course you have that capability of having it shared automatically with anybody that has rights to that document library, whether it's in Teams or it's in SharePoint. If it is on your OneDrive, you can still share a file by going to the top right of the document, click share, and then click share. So share, then share. You can actually choose who do you want to share this file with. So if I choose one of my coworkers, I can type in a message, you know, here is the doc, blah, blah, blah. When I click send, it's going to send that person a link to that document. They'll be able to open it and make changes with me. We can do what is referred to as live collaboration, having multiple people in the document at the same time. If it is in a SharePoint document library, it automatically is shared. You don't have to manage it. Anyone can open that document at the same time as you. But that's where version history comes in. Because what if they make changes that you didn't want to the document? You could go back into the version history of that file and be able to restore a current version. You don't have to be in the document library or OneDrive to do that. You could do that right here. If you go to the name of the document on the title bar at the top, click the name and then click version history. It will automatically open the version history in this window on the right-hand side. Let me kind of bring that over here so you can see that. So it automatically can, it will automatically, that was me. Let me bring that window back for you. It will automatically show you each of the auto-saved versions of this document. But let me close that and just take it a little bit further. I'm going to close that pane because what I want to do is, I can't have it be maximized because this monitor doesn't work with it that way. Okay, so if I go back to this document, I'm going to close it because I was in the version history. I'm going to be back into the original document again, right here. And then I'm going to go to the review tab of the ribbon. And on the review tab, we have this tracking group where we can actually choose to track changes from who's making which changes. So if I click for everyone, it automatically will track the changes of whatever changes anyone makes. Then you have the ability of being able to see all of those changes. You can also show and hide comments that are being made within a document. But once you have that track changes on and other people come in and start making changes to it, you'll be able to turn on that track changes, and it's going to open a pane on the right hand side, allowing you to see the changes that they've made and accept and reject those. Now, I don't have any because I just shared it with that person and they haven't made changes to it. But you want to be taking advantage of things like that, because sometimes you want to accept their changes, sometimes you want to reject their changes that they had made, or the version history, of course, if it's saved to a cloud, you have the ability of being able to go back and see that. Now, just so you're seeing this, the reviewing pane can also be opened with different revisions. I'm just going to go ahead and close that again. We could say show markups, where we can actually choose to see any of the changes that other people have made. And from that show markup, we could say, I want to see the changes for different people. I only want to see the changes that this particular person did. Right now it's on all reviewers, but if I had other people that have opened this document and made changes, I would see their names and I could choose to only see the changes they made. We also have formatting. We can see different changes from different people in different colors as well. So we have a lot of great options that we can choose from. Takes a little practice to get used to how all those features work, but I got to tell you, these are things that I use all the time. I love having the version history. I use that very regularly because sometimes I want to go back to an original copy and save it as a different file, even keeping the latest updates. So there's a lot of different great tools we have. But Dave, I'm going to send it back to you and see, did we have any questions that have come through while we were doing these demonstrations for everyone?
Yeah, Jolene, let me bring myself back on stage. We did, but some of the questions in the chat you actually successfully answered, I think, in the course of your presentation. Although the last one you kind of touched on being able to see multiple, the changes made with multiple people. But is there a way to hard code that a certain person always shows up with a certain color? I assume conceivably, so as I edit a file, my changes are always marked in green or something.
We can't do that as a permanent feature, so that every time I do a document, mine are going to be in blue, somebody else's is in green, that kind of a thing. We can't do that as a permanent option, unfortunately. Okay. But yes, we can have colors showing different people, and you can always filter to say, I only want to see this person's changes.
Yep. And actually, the other one I was going to ask you was, Emily, thank you. You posted it originally in the Q&A. I saw that, and she just added it to the chat as we were answering the last question. Her issue is being able to save formatting across documents. Should she be updating themes instead of font elements in the Style tab and clicking the button that says something like New Documents use this formatting? Is there a way to save all this formatting as a regular template?
Yes, absolutely. 100. I'm so glad this got brought up. So let's say that I go and create this document and I'm using custom elements. I can go back just to show you. I can go back, and if I don't like the formatting that this style heading 1 is using, I can actually change it. So let's say that I want it to be this color, and I want it to have a bottom border going across. So I want every heading 1 to look that way. I make the changes, go back to heading 1 in the styles, do a right click. I'm going to say update heading 1 to match the selection. Every heading 1 throughout my document is now formatted that same way. So as I go through and I make these changes, and by the way, one more thing, on the design tab, we have all these document formatting options we can use. So if I choose this one, notice how it automatically updates my entire heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So these go beyond the standard theme and give you additional formatting elements that a document can have. Now, if I want this to be saved as an actual theme, I changed the colors, I changed the default fonts that I wanted it to be using, I changed all of that. Now I want to save it. I would save it as a template. So you would just basically go to File, Save a Copy, and instead of having it as a regular Word document, you want to actually save this as a Word template. Then every time that you come in, open that document, it's going to have those elements. But let me give you a second option, because what if I don't need all that content? I really just want the formatting to be able to be reused. I want the fonts, I want the colors, all of that kind of elements. I would actually go to the themes, and after I have changed the colors it's using, I changed the default fonts, those styles, that kind of a thing, I would choose Save Current Theme. It automatically is going to default to a Microsoft folder. You give it a name, but if you want it to be in a different place, just choose the folder location. It can be wherever you want it to be, because you might want to share it with other people. Give it a name, my theme or whatever you want to call it, click save, and it will automatically have that available for you to reuse on any document you want it to have. Okay. There's some unbelievable things we can do in Microsoft Word.
Yeah, and actually, there are ways you could even work with either your internal IT department or with Sourcepass if we are your IT department, whereas some of those themes can be, some of those theme files can be shared centrally, and it can be enforced that that becomes the default theme so that you can have brand standardization throughout your organization, and so that your default theme that loads for everybody in Word has a commonality to maintain your that's the marketing leader in me coming out.
Correct.
we don't
just
actually do that at
normal
Sourcepass,
template.
but now you got my wheels spinning. Maybe I need to talk to Josh Banyas about that.
Yeah, because that way, every time somebody starts a new document, it automatically has your company branding.
Yeah.
So that's
a
an
couple of
excellent
colors,
option.
default fonts,
Yeah.
and your default headings and so forth. So absolutely. During the course of the presentation, Jolene, you made a comment about how you're going over a very small amount of the kind of total amount of functions and options that are available, and there's actually been a lot of studies published over the years, and I remember one, and I forgot the exact percentage, but AI helped me go back and find some of the sources on this while you were presenting, because I went down an AI rabbit hole looking for usage studies on Microsoft Word. And the first one I found was back on Office 2003. So you are talking about over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But it talked about the top 5 commands were paste, save, copy, undo, and bold. And they accounted for almost 1/3 of all command usage in Word. And of course, that means cut had to probably be in the next 5, because that's why paste was first and copy was third, was people are either copying and copying and pasting or copying and pasting. But but right off the bat, top 5 commands was almost 1/3 of all commands given. Then it was, I found a subsequent article that talks about if you extend through to the top 50 commands, that accounts for half of all of the commands executed. And Microsoft studies this telemetry, the user usage statistics, because as they make changes to the ribbon and which features get presented, they account for what the most common are and give them a prevalent place on the menus and on the ribbon, because just like grocery stores take the stuff they want to sell you and put it in the middle of the grocery aisle rack. It's the same sort of a concept.
Category management.
But yeah, the key takeaway was, this was the stat I was looking for. They estimate that it's somewhere between 10 and 20%, maybe 15% of all Word capabilities are used by the average user. So hopefully after today's session, if folks were somewhere in that 15% range, we were able to bring you up to 17% at least, with a couple of new tips and tricks in your arsenal. So just to kind of wrap today's session up, I'll bring the QR code up on the screen just to share it. If you want to provide any feedback for today's session, you can feel free to fill out that survey, which you'll receive. You can also send us an email if you have any feedback to events@sourcepass.com. That comes to myself, Caddy Rosari, who's in the background, and a couple other members of our marketing team. We're always willing to help point you in a direction if you have any questions. questions. And as I said, we do look forward to your feedback. So do take the time to fill out that survey. If you have any other follow-up questions about word usage or otherwise, feel free to shoot us a note. We're happy to point you in a direction. So thanks for joining us today. Appreciate running a couple minutes over, and we look forward to seeing you in a future session. Thank you, everybody.